Okay, we're going to take a quick look at the nitrogen cycle here. First things first, I need you to have an understanding of what the nitrogen cycle is and the four processes which contribute to the nitrogen cycle. Key thing to think about is as well that nitrogen is, as we know, hopefully, it is 78% of the atmosphere around us, and it exists in the form of N2, nitrogen gas. It's an extremely unreactive gas, and we often find it in packets of crisps and in salads and so forth as an inert, unreactive gas, because it's just not very good at being involved in chemical reactions, especially at low temperatures. So part of that is because it exists with this triple covalent bond. So it's difficult to break those bonds and be involved and so forth, or involved in reactions. So what I would like you to do is just to bring to your awareness why nitrogen is important. So in biological systems, we need it for DNA, we need it for amino acids, and we need it for proteins. So that's the key thing about why we've got to actually have nitrogen in the first place. So let's take a look at these processes. So the first one being fixation. So fixation is a really interesting process because it's done by bacteria. And what they're able to do is take N2 and convert it into NH3, or the ammonium ion. And this is important for those bacteria because by making the ammonium ion, this then provides a route for them to be able to make amino acids for themselves, as well as, you know, proteins and DNA. Now these bacteria, they usually live freely in the soil, but rather an interesting symbiotic relationship. With plants, certain types of plants called leguminous plants, they have developed what are called nodules within their root systems, which provide a home to these bacteria. Now what we're looking at here is what's referred to as mutualistic symbiosis. It's kind of, if you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours relationship. So the plants, I should have said plants here, these leguminous plants, they are able to supply, because they're photosynthetic, they're able to supply a source of glucose to the fixing bacteria that live in these roots. And in turn, the bacteria are able to supply the plant with NH3, which the plant then is able to do the same thing with. It's able to provide, it's able to take the ammonia and be able to manufacture for itself amino acids as well. So this fixation process here, number one, it's done by bacteria, and very interestingly, these leguminous plants, which form this symbiotic relationship with these bacteria, are able to take advantage of the bacteria because the bacteria are able to provide them with NH3 for free, or in turn for a bit of glucose. So this is fixation, and the key thing to remember is that it's adding ammonia to the soil. Now the second process is ammonification. Ammonification. So things grow up, they get old, they die, and they produce waste. And this dead stuff, and this waste stuff, so things like urea and the dead proteins and so forth that are in the tissues of the remains of plants and animals, there's a lot of nitrogen locked up within there. So ammonification is a process where saprotrophic organisms like fungi saprotrophic or saprobiotic because they are saprobiotic, they secrete enzymes on the dead material, digest the dead material extracellularly, and then reabsorb the contents of digestion into themselves to be able to allow them to grow. And basically, one of their product of this saprobiotic nutrition is that they produce vast quantities of ammonia, NH3, or the ammonium ion. So this is two processes. We have fixation, which is providing ammonia, and then we have ammonification itself, providing ammonia. So again, it would be important to stress that this is an aerobic process. So the bacteria involved, or the fungi involved in doing this process, are going to need a lot of oxygen to be able to do the respiration, to be able to do the breakdown process, to provide us with the ammonia. Stage 3, nitrification. Nitrification, we have ammonia, NH3 or NH4 plus, which has been provided either because of fixation or ammonification. It's now a source of energy for nitrifying bacteria. So again, this is carried out by bacteria. What they do is they break down the ammonia to produce nitrite, the NO2 minus ion. And further species of nitrifying bacteria break down nitrite into nitrate. Now the interesting thing about nitrate and nitrite to an extent is that this is now freely available to plants. They can take this nitrate in through their root system to be able to manufacture proteins, amino acids, proteins and DNA, and all of the usual stuff that contains nitrogen through a process called assimilation. Okay, so we've looked at the first three processes, and the first three processes that's important to remember again are all aerobic. And farmers will do everything possible to make sure that they maintain aerobic conditions in their fields, because what they want to do is encourage the bacteria that are responsible for ammonification, fixation and nitrification. What they want to avoid is process 4, which is called denitrification. Which is an anaerobic process. Anaerobic means without oxygen. Under anaerobic conditions such as waterlogging in a field, we end up with denitrifying bacteria. And what they're able to do is use nitrate, NO3 minus, as a source of energy, and the byproduct of their metabolism is that they produce N2. So the nitrate, which we would have hoped would be available to plants, ends up becoming nitrogen gas, which bubbles out of the soil to return to the atmosphere again. So it's lost to the soil, but it's returned to the atmosphere, and we've completed the cycle. So let's look at how this adds up. So we have N2 in the atmosphere. Through fixation, we produce NH3, or the ammonium ion. We have dead stuff, or waste, which ends up becoming ammonia through ammonification. The ammonia becomes nitrite, which becomes nitrate through nitrification. And if anaerobic conditions come about, we have denitrification. Process 1, process 2, process 3, process 4. Then we've completed our cycle. Hopefully that quick Riddz-top stir of the nitrogen cycle will help to make a little bit more sense of what's taking place, and hopefully be able to get those keywords and key processes sort of more solidified for you. Thanks for watching.